All right, I'm gonna go double check over here on YouTube, and we're about a couple minutes out from go time, so this is not a problem. Take your time.
Yeah, you're good. Just stay.
Yeah, perfect. So YouTube is going. Sure, we'll get a few people. We got 5 people chiming in right now or watching live. So when you are ready, we got a few minutes, but it doesn't, I mean, we can always go back. Everybody can go back and check out the recorded version. And so whenever you're ready, we can rock and roll. So thank you guys for chiming in. I am watching. So what I got dialed in here, I got my monitor over here on this side to pull up anything we need to pull up on the web. Over here, I have the YouTube page with the chat box. So go there if you want to, you know, interact with us here. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box on YouTube. And so yeah, that's what we're dialing in right now. So I think we're ready to rock and roll.
All right. I think that thing should stay. Are we good?
All right, let me introduce everybody really quick, or introduce you to everybody. So, we've been doing this cool live interviews and just getting into some of the shapers around the US. We had we had Chad Stickney, we had Jimmy Linville, and we've actually had some interviews of Nick Mesritz and a couple of other shapers that we interviewed for Book Live. But these live things is pretty cool because you can interact with us and we get a firsthand look. There's no script. We're just gonna shoot the shit and find out what these shapers are all about. So from the East Coast, North Carolina, I believe we have Andrew Bitleris, who has been he's got some pretty good things going on right now. So what we're going to do now is jump in with Andrew and see what he's got going on his special room upstairs. This is where he has a stockpile of some of the vintage boards that he's been collecting. Andrew, take it away, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, Manny. And I think you and I were chatting. Met 2007 back at like Costa Rica Freak Fest in Hermosa, Paco. Man,
Yeah.
that was a super fun trip. So great to meet you there and everything. Still keep up with all the boys: Rojas, Chucky, Elias, Meow, all them, Chimpa. So actually, Christian Rojas came here, so he's seen the Boogie Room. Chad Stickney's seen the Boogie Room too, and yeah, I guess like a little bit of Boogie hoarder. Um, One of my special boards. This is still in the wrapper. Mach 77 classic from Mexico, Dow core, still its authenticity, everything. I just love that board. Classic, like we said, yellow deck, double black rails, orange bottom. Another
What year would you put on that?
probably like 93, 94 around that time frame. And the fact that it's still in the wrapper, I mean, I will never open that thing up. Uh, just one of the favorites, again, classic. Another one, a lot of people.
Hold on before we get going, because
Yeah,
I want to pick some, just go inside of your brain a little bit and find out all of you guys are collecting these boards, the vintage, collectors. I want to know, okay, you're collecting them. At what point are you going to say, okay, it's time to let them go? Because, if you would have said, Manny, if you want this Mach 77, I'll sell it to you for $100. I would send you $100 right now because I would ride that thing. Because I remember the Dow cores. It's just a whole different feeling and a whole different a way of riding the wave. So, at what point of collecting all these boards are you going to say, okay, I got to let them go? Or is there a point?
that's a great question. And I watched that interview that you did with Pete. Pete and I go way back. That I might never get rid of. We'll see. But I've got a Mach 7 that I could definitely get rid of. Not in the wrapper. It's got a little bit of a peel on the slick side that could easily be fixed with hot glue. No problem. Make it look really sweet. The one in the wrapper, just like I've got some other ones, Manny, Andre both assigned boards when he rode up in Jenks. Yamo boards that custom made by him that are both pro boards. I'll probably never get rid of those. Both those one of my favorite riders of all time. So there's just some that I'm not going to get rid of unless someone's willing to pay like maybe a pretty penny. Just the fact that it's in a wrapper, the nostalgia, original Mach 77 out of Mexico Dow. Don't know if I'll ever get rid of that. But there are going to be some that I'm willing to put up on BBC. So be tuned for that. But yeah, just I don't know if I can get rid of that one.
All right. Thanks for the update. Yeah, keep going. We want to see as many boards if you want as you want to show us, and so we can all drool. Keep going.
Well, everyone knows the infamous Diamond Rail BZ. Now it's not a BSD, it's a Stinger. It's got the cool local motion stamp on there, and it's got the marble slick. Another classic board, no channels, full crescent. Just
It
yeah,
looks pristine.
yeah. It's actually one of the guys in Arizona, Dean. He hooked me up with it. Had it for a couple of years now. All of us BBC guys kind of know each other. You know, the industry is so small, so niche, and everything. So that's one of those. I'd let that diamond rail go. To be honest with you, I don't know the price yet. That's one of those things I got to think about. Maybe put it on eBay. Maybe just put it on BBC. A lot of these, I hate to say it, they're just collecting dust. Another thing too, I rode for Custom X for, gosh, I don't even know how many years on contract. So Pete and I worked together building multiple custom boards, prototype boards. John Mangini, I build boards for now. He was a team rider. I rode his stock models, would kind of tweak them every now and then with Pete. All those team boards that I have from Custom X, not sure I'm going to get rid of those either. They just have sentimental value. All the contests that I did and everything with them. So they're probably going to stay here. Funny enough, this guy, I don't know if you remember this, the Mori Kahala back in the day. This was the first boogie board I ever rode. I was like
Nice.
6 years old. My mom got it for me at Kmart. No slick, just literally a piece of foam that's kind of tie-dyed. That's literally what I've learned on.
Is that the exact board, or did you find one elsewhere?
That's the exact board. It was
Damn.
Dodge forever, and they're like, "We're gonna throw this away," and I'm like, "No, I'll keep it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I'm gonna keep it."
All right. When we get down to your shaping shack, I do have a question over here in the chat box from Tony Piscini. He wants to know what the best beginner board should a 6'3" guy invest in. So when we get down to the shaping shack, we'll answer his question. But keep going.
Sure. Another one I recently picked up, the old VF. Not sure if you can see the ribs at the nose, lime green tailpiece, lime green inner rail, black outer rail, flat bottom with the mesh. Not sure I'd ever let go of this one either. It's just, again, like some of these boards just, you've seen all the videos, all the riders, they're just nostalgia. And when I find these boards for like really good prices, again, I'm a little bit of a hoarder. So there's a lot I will get rid of. Like I've got a Custom X Rollins over here. It's just sitting here. I'd get rid of that, no problem. I've got some multicolor Fred Booth boards. Now this one's got a few too many plugs.
Oh,
I bought it with the plug holes. I've got another one that has no plugs at all. So I would let go of this one, no problem. If someone's going to, deal with the multi plug holes in there. Yeah, I think Pete still has some of these multicolored decks stashed away. I'm not 100% certain.
oh my goodness.
Pull out another one here. So a little background too. I started NC Bodyboarders just to kind of showcase East Coast bodyboarding, especially in North Carolina. We've got an array of waves, especially in the Outer Banks. I'm a little south of the Outer Banks in Atlantic Beach, so we get our good days here. There's a little island that's fickle, and I'm gonna kind of keep that a secret name. People know about it, but so on this is a Custom X Phoenix R-Cell, never plugged. Now I did put the NC Bodyboarder skull on here, and then this is just a sticker. But to your point, completely pristine. and everyone loves the nostalgia on the RCell.
Damn. So we're not even looking at, or you don't even see all your boards. We're just seeing the ones in front of the camera, and
Yeah,
you got a stash behind the camera. So that's how many boards would you say you have in that room alone?
probably about 90.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not going to give your address away because I know there's probably people watching that will probably head your way and start bidding for some boards.
And this one I recently got, I believe it was from Brian Eberhardt, if you know his name. He's been letting go of some boards lately. I've been wanting a Taloa 3 forever. Back when I was in college at UNCW, I believe it was like 2005, Wonton and I were talking. I almost rode for Moray, and I was riding actually for J Real e bodyboarding at the time. Yamaha made me a few customs, but this one here, it's not the best condition. Again, more nostalgia. I've always wanted Taloa 3. And actually, what I did is I took down all the dimensions and all the colors and everything. So I built a template that's in the garage so I can build this replica board just for myself. But this is another one. I don't know if I'd let go of it.
When you are shaping, and we're gonna see some more boards here in your vintage board collection, but when we go downstairs and talk about shaping, a question I would like to ask too is if somebody like myself, I mean, I have PMA to make me my custom boards, but if somebody else says, "Hey, I rode this Rollins Woods board and I want it remade." Would you be able to do something like that? Or just like an old Mike Stewart turbo or anything like that? If somebody would want to get, a custom board like Tony's 6'3", you would suggest a board and would it be based off a template or would you make something super custom? What I'm trying to say is, would you be able to replicate boards that people would love to ride that will bring back that nostalgia?
Yeah, definitely. And there's been a few guys up in New Jersey that have already asked me for that. Hey, I want this exact colorway. I want white bottom. I want red nose piece, red tail piece, red outer rails, yellow inner rails, blue deck. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I got you. Um, and like I said, I've taken a lot of these boards already. Now, granted, I don't have a Mike Stewart MS Turbo 3. I would love to get my hands on one. I'm sure it'd be a pretty penny, just like that wrapped up Mach 77. But yeah, all of these, like even here, I could replicate boards. A lot of the guys, they want, especially some of the older VBC riders. I've got wave plank, I've got the thick stuff, I've got all different kinds of cores in the garage. So no problem replicating boards as long as I have the template or very close to the template. A lot of it comes down to just dimensions, finish thickness, all that kind of good stuff. Another one, just sentimental. J Real being my first sponsor, had to grab this. I believe this is from Lewin Win. I could be wrong though. One of the VBC guys, maybe even Jordan Stallard. Can't put my hand on it right now, but yeah, I mean, I've got so many boards up here, Manny. It's kind of my friends come over to my house and I'm like, "Do you guys want to see my upstairs?" We're like, "Yeah, we've never seen the upstairs." And when they come into this room, they're like, "Okay, you have a problem with body boards."
Totally.
Yeah. A lot of these, so like Jason Buckmaster, Ronin bodyboards. I was riding his for a while too after Custom X when I got off contract. So I've got a handful from him. Obviously, all the ones I built early on for myself. And even before I started Anthem, I was mainly just putting like building boards and putting NC bodyboarder stamps on there. It wasn't until, gosh, I want to say 2021 when I really started doing Anthem. So I've only been shaping, it'll be 5 years this upcoming October. So really, I've just been, team rider, contest rider, trying to travel. I mean, I've been to Ireland, I've been in California multiple times, been to Portugal, been to Mexico, been to Costa Rica multiple times, been to Indonesia. So, that's my whole thing. It's just I want to bodyboard as much as possible. Now that I've gone to all these places and done everything, Pete was a huge part in getting me set up on shaping. It was back in like 2018, I started sourcing Ethafoam 220, a little bit different than the wave plank, but very similar, just a cell of the actual planks are a little bit different. I had no clue what I was doing. I was sending pictures to Pete. He's like, "Oh, maybe one day East Coast shop," and I'm like, "That's great." I get a phone call from Pete when I was still on contract. I think it was like 2020. He's like, "Hey man, I got an integral part of building bodyboards if you want to buy it." And I'm like, "Holy cow! Like this never happens. People never get asked that." So it was the laminator. Pete was like, "I will sell you this laminator." I was like, "Awesome, great." And then from there, it's just kind of been game on. Sourcing materials. Jason Buckmaster helped me out a big time too. I didn't really know how to get all the different decks, slicks, all that fun stuff. He would actually, him and I would split material for the longest time. I finally got my own accounts with all these big companies, so that's just been huge. And now I'm sending boards over to the UK. Chuki's riding my boards down in Costa Rica. I've got West Coast, East Coast guys, and I'm just trying to kind of take it to the next level. I'll be 40 in November, so the sky's kind of like the limit for me. Pete and some of these guys, you know, they've been doing it for so long, and I'm sure they're kind of getting like worn out. But that's kind of where I want my new blood to take everything, even Mark Rossi. Him and I chat all the time. He's giving me some different ideas as well. Those guys have been such an integral part of where I am in a whole shaping part now in my life. And even today, like I took a V-tail that I made myself, Apollo channels. I'll show that in the shop here in a few. And it's just trying to understand more about these different designs and like where I can take them. Like Ronin does this very unique. I think he's the only one that does this, like a scallop tail. And it is crazy fast, has a ton of speed and hold. It's just, everyone's got their own way. There's many ways to skin a cat. There's many ways to build a bodyboard. So
So if you in a dream world and dreams come true, what would that ideal situation be for you? Would it be shaping boards full time? Are you doing that now, or is this a side hustle? Like, what would be your ideal situation coming from a bodyboard shaper?
ideally, I'd love to make boards full time. It is just a side hustle. I'm working on building a website and getting that published very, very soon. Just for formality, have like a custom order sheet. I'd get all the emails, still have the customer interaction and, really hone and dial everything in. My main job right now is Cisco Systems. I work in sales as a renewal specialist, so that's unfortunately like what I do full time. But anytime I'm not on work call for Cisco, I'm in the garage either working on an order. If I don't have orders at the current time, I'm trying to build experimental boards for myself or other. I've got a few team riders mainly in the Northeast and here in North Carolina. So if they want something, hey, I want these exact dimensions, like, hey, no problem, but let's change up. You're normally riding single stringer, bottom mesh. Why don't we do no stringer? We'll do deck mesh, bottom mesh. We'll tweak this and we'll tweak that. And they're like, that sounds great. So just really, if I don't have orders, I'm in the shop, and it's been very hot and humid here in North Carolina.
Oh my goodness. All
Uh,
right. So ideally,
uh,
because custom boards are going what 350, close to 400 bucks, I'm guessing. Um,
yeah,
how many boards would you have to make in a month to like say, see you later, Cisco, I am working full time as a shaper.
I'd say about 10 to 12 boards a month.
Oh my God, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad. And, I hate that the boards have gone so much like higher in price. And it's only because of the materials. We can only source so much here in the US. There's a lot that we can, but all of like the bottom slick, a lot of the black magic substrate that we get, all of that has to come from Taiwan. So with the tariffs and everything coming
Oh,
up, just it's gone more expensive. But, I try to be very fair with my pricing, especially if like someone just wants like a stock standard channel, single stringer, bottom mesh, just substrate, and no deck contours, it's about 280 plus shipping. If someone wants like a 5 channel or a quad channel and more bells and whistles, it's going to be about 320, 350 plus shipping. So I'm trying to make things very fair as I've only been doing it for 5 years. I don't have the tenure like JL, PMA, Rossi, Buckmaster. Those guys all started like in actual factories where I've done everything myself in my shop.
that may have something to it as well because you may have been able to come up with things that are very exclusive to you and your Anthem brand. So, I mean, Yeah, I'll be honest, I haven't paid for a bodyboard in a very long time. And if I have, it was just to cover materials. I've been very fortunate to be able to be in that situation. But man, if I was a bodyboarder, just getting into it or fully committing to this is my sport, back in the day, I would have paid full price. And now, if I was just getting into it now, and somebody who does understand, oh shit, this guy's making me a custom board, I wouldn't. Gosh, just anything under $350 would be ludicrous because I've seen the amount of time and effort and how much materials cost. Like, yeah, don't sell yourself short because you got that 5 years, and that 5 years, and it sounds like it's not 5 years with a couple days here and there through the years. It sounds like you're in the shaping bay all the time. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, your customs are coming up to 350 to 400. So I wouldn't be shy away from that, but keep on rocking. Show us a couple other boards and let's get down to the shaping shack.
Let's see here. This one, it's not really vintage, but it's very special to me, and I will never let it go. I'm sure you know
Oh,
what this is. Paul Roach, custom, hand drawn, Sharpie. Unfortunately, I took the wrapper off. I never plan on actually writing it, but yeah.
oh my gosh.
I mean,
That thing is
watching
sick.
on No Friends, like, yeah, this one will never get let go either.
Um, are you sure? I'll give you 350 bucks.
We'll have to see.
All right, if you guys are watching, because I know there's a handful of guys and girls watching, share this YouTube link. Get other bodyboarders to tune in because we're gonna see a couple more boards here, and then we're gonna head down to the shaping shack and see what he's got going on downstairs as well.
So we'll kind of end on this one before we get in the garage. This is just a classic tubes BB2. I'd probably let this one go. I've already got the template and everything. It's a great board. I just don't really like that the plug is actually in the channel near the tail. A little funky there. You can always take the plug out, maybe fill it with some hot glue or something. But, this is just kind of like a tribute to Buzz.
What was that BB2? Because I'd never had a signature board with tubes. They put me on the buzz board to be the face of the buzz board. But the BB2, what does the two signify? I'm ashamed that I don't know this.
Um, I believe it is like the second version of the Buzz board. Yeah.
Okay.
I would have to check with like Jason Buckmaster at Ronin. He spent a lot of time with Buzz. He started shaping at tubes. I would have to double check with him, but I'm pretty certain that it is the second version of the Buzz board.
Yeah, those boards freaking they were the best for me at that time. Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to ride those things and very fortunate to be able to just call, the guys at Tubes and say, "Hey, I'm out of boards," and they'll just send me like three or four at a time. And I was doing that maybe 4 or 5 times during the year, so very, very lucky. So big thank you to Tubes for the opportunity.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna run downstairs real quick. Be right back.
All right, so he's going to log off and log back in. We did talk about he's like it's going to be kind of weird walking down the stairs. I don't want people to see whatever. So I believe he's logging off or covering up the camera as he's walking down to his shaping bay downstairs. But yeah, I'm gonna look over here on the YouTube chat box and Tony, we're gonna ask him your question and Art, my Anthem pumpkin seed is down in Puerto Escondido waiting for me. So Art has bought a couple boards from you, or a few boards from you. So
Yeah.
he has nothing but amazing things to say. So now we're in the shaping bay.
Now,
Let's go back a minute. PMA Pete Anaya calls you up and says, "Hey, you ask all these questions about shaping. He saw something in you to be able to offer that laminator to you. What was it that, got him to do that? Were you just hounding him on questions about shaping, or did he just say, "Holy shit, this guy really wants in"? And I don't know. Give us the background.
A little bit of both. I mean, Pete and I go way back. I think the first custom I ever got from him was like 2009. He just, to your point, I would kind of bombard him with some questions. Hey, I really like this board, but let's make it a little bit thinner, just overall thickness. Let's make it a little bit thinner. Let's make the nose a little bit thinner. Let's add some slick bulbs. Let's add some routing on the actual deck contours. Other things is, hey, he's got like this R-cell core. It works great down here, but I want more flexibility. Let's not put a stringer in it. Let's see if we can put slick mesh and deck mesh on it. That way it doesn't dent as bad. Sometimes we'll even, route it out and inlay some other material and then put deck mesh on top. And he's like, holy cow, man, like you're going so outside the box. And then it just one day he's like, you've been on team for so long. You've been trying to do this whole shaping thing yourself. This laminator, I'm going to rebuild it. I'm going to hook you up with it. Just go to town. And I did take a crash course, went out to Custom X a few times. So I went out to California.
Hold
He,
on, hold on. When he said that,
Mhm.
what was going through your mind? I mean,
I was like, wow, are you sure? I asked him multiple times, like, are you sure? And he said, yeah. I to your point, he saw something in it with all like the designs that we kept going back and forth. So yeah, I think that was it.
and
Just
that machine's that is the most important part in shaping because you got to laminate the skins and laminate with the proper heat so it doesn't bend the wrong way. And it's not cheap.
no, and I'll tell you this. So I've actually revamped it this past Thanksgiving. When he sold it to me, it was infrared. So literally like a big restaurant lamp with three bulbs on it. And it took me years to get it dialed. And I finally got it super dialed. It almost looked like BuzzTech, like hot air technology. I remember showing Jason and Mark Rossi boards. They're like, are you running hot air? I'm like, no. They're like, wow, you've got that thing dialed finally. One day, just everyone's kind of, I think Pete and Chad are maybe like the only people really doing infrared these days. So in my brain, I was like, I just want laminations better, tighter, as good as I can really get them, especially like using the substrate and everything, the black magic as we call it. So I had a local welder buddy. I sent him some designs on how I wanted this hot box created, and he made it come to fruition. He came over, we assembled this whole like erector set per se to transform like the bones that Pete gave me are awesome. Still using the same frame, still using the same rollers, everything. Just literally using hot air, a better sheet feeder. I've got a lever. All these things are really helping my boards get as dialed as possible now.
It's still infrared or no?
No, hot air. Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much
Okay.
like Jimmy has, except for I think his heat guns are a little bit more robust than what I'm using. And I've got four rollers, but I think he's only got two. So pretty much it's just me in here. There's nobody else. I don't have any help at all.
What about you? Do you have a family? Do you have wife, kids?
No wife, no kids, just me and my dog. I've got a Boykin Spaniel named Clyde,
Nice.
wide open. Um, yeah, my parents are actually inland. They're about 3 hours away in Raleigh. So it's just myself down here. That my all my friends, all my boogie board buddies. I used to a little bit of history when I started NC Bodyboarders. Uh, all these kids, like I don't know if you remember, like Mark Ramsdale. He used to do like a bunch of the contests. Him and I would always boogie board together at the pier in Emerald Isle, Boogie Inlet Pier, and all these like Groms started like talking to us and everything. And I decided to take them underneath my wing. So these kids really cool. We still chat all the time. I saw one of them yesterday at this cool like little IPA spot, restaurant called Thirsty Surfer. And, it's just, again, bodyboarding itself is such a small knit community. Even here on the East Coast, like West Coast, Hawaii, Australia, everywhere is like, y'all have way more waves, you have way more going on. We're like diehard here on the East Coast. We're surfing when it's snowing, sleeting, rain. We're wearing 5.4s. We're wearing 5 mil booties, 5 mil gloves, like whatever it takes to get like barreled.
And you're driving hours upon hours to chase a swell. I mean, you know, I've heard the stories where somebody in, I don't know, New Jersey says, "Oh, there's a swell coming in. We're gonna go chase it. We're gonna drive down freaking 15 hours to North Carolina and try to chase it up the coast." And there's more than a handful of people that do that.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Worley, he would drive all the way up from Florida to the Outer Banks. I would go see John Mangini up to New Jersey when I did the Belmar Pro, and I stayed there for a week with him. I can't tell you how many times, like back in college and like still to this day, I used to drive up to the Outer Banks, which from my house here in Atlantic Beach, Morehead City, takes a good like 4 hours to get to like Buxton, Avon area. So I used to turn and burn, wake up at 4 a.m., get to the beach, try to like open up my eyes, like stretch, get everything like ready to go out, surf as long as I can, go eat, check the waves again, and then get on back the road and just pass out when I got home, just dead tired.
Oh my God. So 4 hours there, 4 hour, well, maybe 5 hours back because you're cruising now, but damn, those are the stories that I've been hearing from day one. And here's the crazy part is the East Coast has way less swell than the West Coast, and you guys are so much more frothing than the West Coasters. And yeah, I got to give it to you guys for doing what you do.
I mean, it's been flat here for, we've been getting like sloppy, choppy days. Today was like the first day we got a north wind in probably like months. It wasn't anything great, but it was still like super fun to get out there, get wet, found a good wave. You know, it's just how it is.
Totally. All right, let's before we get into what you got going on there, let's answer Tony's question. What would be the best board for him to get on as a beginner bodyboarder? He's 6'3".
So it's funny. I know Tony personally. I actually hooked him up with a pretty cool board. It's very similar to like a Fred Booth. For someone like him who just wants to get their foot wet in the water, they've never really done much bodyboarding. And this is actually one of Chuki's kind of like almost pro models that I've built for him. Just something standard like this, full crescent tail right here, slick mesh, no channels, just very simple, basic, double stringer. And I think it's like
Wow.
12-inch nose. So just something very simple where, this will float them, no problem. I didn't plane it down at all. I think it's like maybe 2 1/4 thick. Maybe make it like a little bit longer since you're 6'3", maybe about 44, 43.5 inches, just kind of depending on what they're looking to achieve. If they're riding outside low tide, or if they're looking to ride like high tide, shore break, or all of it. I really think that like something like this would be just a good all around board for someone wanting to get started.
And when do you talk to these people that are asking for custom boards? Kind of like what you did with PMA, but at what point do you talk to them about you know, the rail ratio, 50/50, 60/40, tails, full crescent, bat tails. Like, do you do you talk to them and how do you get the answers you're looking for before you shape them a board?
Well, I mean, with all my years of riding, been again on a bodyboard since I was 6, almost 33 years riding. Um, I just kind of have like this knowledge of like, okay, you say you really don't bodyboard a whole lot. You've never really done it before. You've probably like caught a few waves here and there. So they're probably not going to know like rail ratios to your point, 55/45, 60/40, 50/50, 70/30, all that kind of good stuff. Which these days I don't think there's many 70/30 unless like Jack the Ripper or someone's asking for that. Like the industry standard is pretty much either 60/40 or 55/45. If I'm not planing a board, I'm trying to make it thicker for buoyancy, depending on weight and height, it's going to come out 60/40. I've got a few different chime blocks that I use. Um, but these days, most boards, you go in a surf shop, they're going to be 55/45 rail ratio. They're probably going to be somewhere around like, I'm just running off numbers. If someone's 6 foot, like 180 pounds, they're probably going to get like a 42-inch board, which has 12-inch nose, maybe 18-inch tail, 21 and a half wide at like 18 down. Like my brain just kind of knows these numbers automatically. And they're probably going to have clip crescent with standard channels. That just seems to be like the industry standard today.
And so when somebody like Chucky down in Costa Rica, who is a madman, drop knee master, regular foot, when he comes to you and says, "Hey, this is what I want. Um, this is the type of wave I'm riding, but what do you think?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I've ridden with Chucky a lot down in Costa Rica. We've spent, gosh, many years together riding, and I need to get back down there. Sorry, boys. Pura vida. Um,
Yeah.
Chucky is easy, and there's not many people that are really that easy that can just rattle off dimensions and know exactly what they want. Chucky messaged me. He's like, "Hey man, I really want to start riding your boards. I'm seeing all your stuff. Christian Rojas showed me the board that you made him. Can you just make me a Fred Booth replica?" I'm like, "Sure. How many stringers do you want? Full crescent tail, no channels." He's like, "Yes." And he said like 43 inches. And I was like, "Okay, we'll do double stringers. That work for you with hot water. We're gonna do just slick mesh and substrate, and I'm gonna do, the material I get from California. It's a little bit thicker than the stuff I get from Taiwan. So it's like, hey, Chuki, I know you're going to probably crease the board or try to crease the board doing like your crazy snaps and everything and floaters off the lip. So let's just try and make it as robust as possible." And I think he actually came in first or second in one of the last contests down there riding the board I just made him. The only thing that he said is, "Hey, next time, let's go triple stringer." I was like, "Okay, I guess you need that. So we'll do it."
Oh my gosh. And let me pull up the page really quick of Chucky. His name is Chucky Fayas on Instagram. But I don't know what board he's on here, but I'm just wanted to show you, what he's capable of. He's one of the best drop near, if not the best drop near in Costa Rica and probably in that whole region.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he is definitely very lucky to be able to have this break as his home break. Um, but yeah, it's and like when you're working with writers like this, or when you're working with writers that think they know what they want, how good does it make you feel when you make them something and they call you up and say, "Holy shit, this thing's amazing."
I mean, the fact that I've only been doing this for 5 years, it means a lot. Just understanding what they want. Because, like John Mangini, living in New Jersey, sometimes he'll come down to the banks. He rides these crazy slabs up in the Northeast. I'm not going to name where they are. Respect that.
Yep.
He's like, "Hey, the last board you made me is amazing. It was a quad. I pretty much use it on this one right slab. And I'm using it as my pole mount board, but I want something a little bit thicker, a little bit wider, but narrower nose. And I like the tail." We basically like built this template. What I've done now is made it single stringer, a hair thicker than before, just because we were making double stringers for like summertime for them, and it would take them like a long time to actually break them in. With the single stringer and the cold water up there, he really needs to be able to scoop and pull on that nose. If he doesn't, he's scorpioning and going right into the reef. No one wants to deal with that. And some of his previous boards that he had gotten, not from me, but from other people, just weren't really like cutting it, he said. So it's like, okay, again, let's just do substrate. We're not going to do deck mesh, just slick mesh. We're going to pull it in a little bit and make it a hair thicker. And he's like, "This is the magic board. Keep those specs, keep those dimensions." I was like, "All right, you got it. No problem." So I've literally got it eared down in like my order book for him.
Nice. I know we were just over at Jimmy Linville's place a week or two ago, and he had a drawer that he opened up. I think he has a few drawers where he had these these templates, these cardboard templates of they're in the shape of half of the bodyboard, so he just flips them over. Do you have something similar? And like how many of those do you have if you do?
I do. They're actually like on a wall. Let me pick this up really quick. So you can kind of see over here, I've got a ton of templates on the wall over here. I've got my roll of black magic. I've just got material everywhere.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, I've got tons of templates. I've got flow templates, Jared, like all those boards that were showing upstairs. I just copy them because it just makes sense to go ahead and have them like in the arsenal. If someone wants, "Hey, make me a Houston, nothing against hub boards, but here on the East Coast, I'm trying to do what the people want." Other boards, I've got this other template right here I use for a lot of things as well. And it's just working out great for everybody. And really, when it comes down to it, Manny, it's more dimensions. Yes, there are certain templates that work better than others when they rattle off dimensions to you. But my brain automatic, like Ramsdale, he would IZM, ism, forever. And he's like, hey, can you make me that board? I'm like, you got it, no problem. So just being able to like trace those templates and have them here, just like Jimmy has. Sure, cardboard might not be the best, but it works. And as long as it works, that's all that matters.
So the people that are finding you and hitting you up for custom boards, did, do you feel any kind of like, what am I trying to say here? Are you worried about any backlash from, let's say, the Hubbards when somebody calls you and says, "Hey, I want a Jared Houston board," instead of going straight to Hubbards? And are you worried about any of that kind of backlash, or are you just catering to the people? Like, does that even cross your mind?
It does, yes and no. And luckily, I do know Jeff and Dave. I met Dave down in Costa Rica with you. I've seen them both at the expo back when I was on contract with Custom X. We would always chat. I'm not like stealing their actual designs. Like when I do like a 5 channel, it's not exactly like theirs. And I'm not doing the exact like deck contours. I'm literally just using the dimensions that I see online and I'm matching up what the actual template is. And with me and Pete just having such good relationship over the years, I don't think he would mind either. And it's still going to be completely different. Like his channels might be wider, mine might be skinnier, depending on how everything is. So I've never gotten any backlash from any other shapers. Again, I thought about doing a scallop tail at one point, and that's one thing. Like with Jason and I having such a good relationship, I'm going to let him have that scallop tail. If you think about it too, Manny, the Mach 77 I showed you upstairs, everyone's replicated that. So really, are we all stealing from each other, or are we just like collaborating as like one big shaper family?
Yeah. Okay, good. I just wanted to see because I meant to ask that with Jimmy, but we never got to it. I think we had a few beers in, but yeah. So now that that's out of the way, give us an insight on what your shaping area looks like. I mean, it looks like the whole garage is your zone.
It is. I mean, there's some clutter. That's kind of why I have the camera set up the way I do. But like over here, I've got like my actual shaping stand. I've got a board on here right now that I'm working on. You can kind of see the mesh and everything. What I'm going to do next is this is just how I do it. I take Black Magic. It's EPP substrate. I put it as an actual bumper on the nose. I need to cut the tail in, and then I'll bumper that as well. And I'll actually show like what this Black Magic looks like. It comes in a giant roll, and one side is actually filmed, and it's very thin. And I remember listening to Jimmy, and he was talking about, man, that stuff you got to laminate multiple times, all this kind of stuff. It does require more tedious work to use the Black Magic. When I'm building polypro boards, and I've got 1.9 polypro density, I've got 1.3 polypro density. I can source 2 different kinds of RCell. I've got the proper wave plank PE. So I've got all the different cores possible. Like I said, I've got deck skins and Surlyn from Taiwan. I've got big rolls of deck skin from Sealed Air. So when using the substrate, I always use it on 99% of the polypro boards I'm building. It just helps seal the cells of the core. It adds a little bit of stiffness to it. And because some of the material that we get from California does not come with film, how are you going to get it on the polypro board?
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
it really helps just, and again, like depending on what the rider wants, where they are located, what kind of waves they're riding. I've had a few guys like, hey, I don't want substrate. Okay, no problem. Then I'll only use the stuff from Taiwan. If they want RCell or, wave plank, well, I'm going to use the stuff from California. It really just kind of depends on what I'm building and what they're trying to look for and achieve.
Yeah, and you know what? PMA mentioned it when we were going through his vault that he has online, selling online, is essentially you're just trying to seal the board up, seal the core. Because once you get water seeping in there, it's going to take on water and whatever it takes to seal up the core.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say this too. A lot of people, majority of people, since I don't have a website going yet, they'll just message me on Instagram or they have my phone number. They'll hit me up on Facebook. They can find me. Um, Once you put a screwdriver through a board and you plug it, it's on you at that point. hopefully you know how to plug everything. We've seen guys like take hot glue, like do all these different things when they plug it, but that can also lead to water coming out of the board, depending.
How do you suggest? Because I got my method, but as a shaper, as a writer, what do you suggest when you plug your board for the first time?
Honestly, I take a long flathead screwdriver and I take a heat gun and I get the tip as hot as I can. Luckily, I've got a vacuum stand, so I can turn on the vacuum. I shove it down as slow and as perfect as I can. And then I kind of do both sides. And then the minute I do that, I go ahead and I only use flat top plugs. That's just me. I grew up Foley's leashes, Custom X leashes, so always flat top plugs. And I put it in there and that's it. Uh, I myself either ride, I ride all kinds of boards, double stringer, single stringer, no stringer. So obviously with no stringer, you don't have to worry about that. If you get close to a single stringer, you're plugging it right in the middle of the board, depending on, I always have mine about 7, 8 inches from the nose. And I always tell people that. And then with the double stringer, I put it right in the middle of the board. So generally there should be no issues hitting the actual stringer. And I think if you do hit the stringer, that's where water starts to have an issue and you can hear it slosh back and forth. So
Okay, good tip. All right, so give us an insight because we did, and you know what? Back to what I said about keeping it watertight. It may have been Pete or it may have been Jimmy. I got blurred there for a second, but one of them said it's all about just getting that core watertight. So we were at Jimmy's and he had his vacuum, his shaping stand where he puts the board on, but he had a press come down and hold it down. You have something different.
yeah, that is actually like a pneumatic stand that the majority of the shapers do have. There are a few that don't. I believe Mez, Dan Civis, Jason Buckmaster, myself included. We just have a vacuum stand. I don't have the power strip turned on right now, but literally it's just like a canister vacuum. And again, I had a buddy weld this whole entire stand. It's heavy duty. It's 150 pounds. And then what I had to do is build this whole entire area with suction, drill everything out with like pole saw. And you literally just put the core on here and you press the vacuum and it sticks. That way I can kind of work around the board when you have like the pneumatic dropping down. It's not as easy to work around the board. You have to constantly like, now running the vacuum is kind of annoying. I will wear noise canceling headphones when I'm working in the shop, just so I don't hear the vacuum the whole entire time. But I find it just a little bit easier when I'm working around the board.
Okay, that makes sense. Nothing's in the way, and the only drawback is the noise, which is, like you said, just noise cancellation or noise canceling headphones works.
There's always noise going on in here between the air compressor, the belt sander, running my 26-inch drum sander to plane things to thickness. There's always some sort of noise going on.
So we were at Jimmy's, and I took one of his chime blocks off of his wall and started showing it at the camera. What do you have that you don't want to share, and what do you have that you could share?
The only thing that I wouldn't share is just my laminator. It's very special what I've done to it. And there are plenty of photos out there and YouTube videos of laminators. I think I just saw in Australia, they did like a little segment on Rossi, Glenn Taylor, and Adam McHugh. So there might have been a laminator or two in there. Um, Again, you can see laminators everywhere, but mine's very special to me. So I'm not going to show that. I will. So, and I do have different chime blocks. I've got no problem showing those. This is like my main one that I use all the time. I've got a few different ones depending on width of the board and how I'm kind of cutting it. The majority of the time, I'm cutting everything on the bandsaw. But if someone wants, an extra wide board, an extra thick board, I've got one where literally I can pull on the bottom and pull on the top. So I've got 3 different chime blocks. And then these, it's funny. I actually hooked up Chad with one of my original, because Chad came over here, Stickney, about 2 years ago in September when he drove all the way from the West Coast to East Coast. He stayed in his van in my driveway for about 3 weeks and would go
Oh
back to
my God.
the coast. Yeah, so I met Daryl. I haven't met Oliver yet, but I hooked him up with, some things and he watched me. We did a bunch of stuff. He even used some old core that I wasn't using. It was not the best PE that someone actually sent me on accident, but I had my welding buddy actually build these other rollers for me These are key. I don't wet glove. I've tried it before. When you wet glove, in my opinion, you can only wet glove the board once and you're kind of done. You can maybe try to do it again. With rolling, you can roll as many times as you want. So these are really like, I like these a lot. The one that I
Can
hooked,
you, oh, go ahead.
the one I hooked Chad up with is one that I made myself. It was okay, needed some love, but these were machined and they're ball bearings and they're much better.
Can you demonstrate really quick on how you use that? I think Jimmy or PMA or Jimmy showed us and maybe Chad, but yeah, can you show us how you use the roller?
Yeah, can you see?
Yeah, we can see you.
So take a heat gun and literally when you're holding the heat gun, you're just rolling the board like this. And it's all heat, speed, and pressure. Sometimes you're going to put it at an angle that way you don't have like sharp actual edges. You want everything to feel good on your body as you're riding the board. So, you'll kind of do the same thing here. And I mean, it's just literally a certain temperature and just pressing down on the board, going the right speed and pressure.
How many boards have you burnt or did not do that right? Because that seems like something that's a skill.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we've all as shapers made mistakes here and there. It's just bound to happen, especially with me continuing learning. Like some of my first boards were horrendous, and I still have some of them upstairs. You don't really know what you were doing. And again, I was lost. I had to rely on trying to not annoy Pete, try to not annoy Jason and Rossi and those guys, but be like tactical in the way I was asking them. And this is kind of embarrassing, but funny. The first time I even did a board, I didn't even put double rails on it. I just put a single rail on it. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why didn't I double rail it? Like, that was many moons ago. Well, five, but so I mean, things just happen. Like this board, I really like it. This is actually kind of like an RNX like model, very similar, round nose with just a full crescent tail. And what I did here is I kind of tweaked it. You can see like a little bit of orange peel, but that's just because the old infrared, a lot of the times it would hit more of the core instead of the material. So it kind of gives that look every now and then in certain light and whatnot. It does not affect performance of the board. But what I did to kind of tweak the RNX, because I believe it was just like a flat bottom back in the day with no stringer, I made these long channels that are about 22 inches long. And then what I did too, if you can see here, is a concave channel bottom rail.
Nice. We've seen a few of those. Can you bring it up to the camera a little bit closer? Oh, you got to say something to have the camera move to you.
Can you see it? Perfect. And then this is the board that I rode today. It's a V-tail, and it's got like the Apollo channels. So they literally go nose to tail. And all I've done is just put mesh right in the middle of the board.
And the significance and benefits of that?
It makes it a little bit easier to laminate just with the mesh in the middle. I've done it with mesh in the channels, but I feel like you get a little bit more stability through the middle of the board. And that way, like the actual channels have more control and we'll say drive and flex depending on what kind of wave that you're riding. So they can kind of engage more.
Dang, I kind of want to try that.
It's just one of those things like back in the day, you would see some V-tails, you would see some full crescent. Um, again, like everyone, this is like the most basic board, just a flip crescent, standard channel, mesh, slick bulbs. That's the industry right now. Everyone kind of wants like that board. I try to kind of go outside the box. I've done plenty of bat tails. I'll do raised rails. I love doing the concave channel bottom rail. I get guys from the UK. They're like, "Hey, you built me this board. Can you do it like this and this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Um, I'm just trying to literally go outside the box, take everything that Jason, Pete, and Rossi have taught me, and kind of create my own hybrid style of all my years of riding.
It seems like there's a limitless. There's like no limit to what is capable of shaping a bodyboard. So, um, as we're winding down here, what are some of the, some of the suggestions that you would want to give to some bodybuilders that are finally ready to cross over and say, you know what? I've been buying stock boards for a while. I want my own custom board. Like, what would you suggest to those riders that are thinking about getting a custom board?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, the Mach 77 is tried and true. Even now, if you look at it, Legacy, whoever's doing it overseas, might be Mez. I'm not really sure, but you know, again, everyone's doing the slick bulbs, split crescent, standard channels. My opinion, kind of go outside the box. Like, yes, you've ridden that forever. You know it works. Well, how about a V-tail? How about some concave channel bottom rails? How about some Apollo nose to channel? You just see how things might be better and beneficial for your riding going forward. You know what the flat bottom full crescent feels like. It's great for drop knee. It's going to be fast and loose. Why not get like a little bit more speed and control, from a quad channel? I mean, a quad channel with these concave bottom rails, it really, like, if you're dropping in steep on a wave and you're trying to yank on the nose and get all the way in the barrel and come out and maybe hit like a air reverse, whatever maneuver you're trying to hit, the drive and the control that you're going to get. Because my buddy Steve Carlo down in Wrightsville Beach, he never had the concave channel bottom rail. I made him multiple like single, double, concave quad channels, and he was like, "This is great. I'm kind of slipping out a little bit." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Well, let's add concave channel bottom rail." He's like, night and day difference. He took it to Costa Rica. He's taking it to Jersey, New York. He's like, it's insane how much I can hold and just drop, scoop, make the barrel, and come out compared to, like, sometimes they'll like slide slip down the face every now and then. And we don't want
So,
that.
no, I mean, it sounds like something that I would want on a drop knee board.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, again, like this RNX, I've ridden it once. Having the round nose and everything is awesome. Having the full crescent's great. Adding the longer channels and adding the concave channel bottom rail, it's like a whole different beast.
Game changer.
Yeah. I mean, just think about, to your point, because I drop knee a lot too. Sometimes you will slide slip if you can't get that back foot planted right. I'm goofy. So having that on the actual rail, it's going to dig more into the face and keep you where you want to be.
Damn. All right. Well, Pete better know how to do these because I'm calling him up.
I've had it
Um,
running. Pete had a lot of crazy boards going on. Yeah.
all right. So I got a couple things over here in the chat box on YouTube. Art says there's a shipping hack. So if you are going to have a custom board made from Andrew at Anthem, Art says get two at a time. Because if you're going to have your board shipped, you're going to have both boards being able to fit in that one box. So that's a great tip, Art. So thanks for that. And we got so lag. I think it's so lag local. Who is a better shaper, Chad or Andrew? Oh, is he asking me or who's he asking? I we did do a live thing with Chad.
Yeah.
Go check that out on Boog Life. I think it's available here on the Boog Life or Manny V Productions is the name of my channel on YouTube. So go check it out, and you make your own judgment. And then we got For Sure Is Nation. It's crazy how boards are 54 millimeters finished thickness at 41 inches. Can you talk about that?
I can make boards as thick as people want. I think the thickest board I can make, depending on, well, really wave plank, you're going to get anywhere from, like, if I'm using all the stuff from California, 59 millimeters.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, even like with some of my polypro, when you add this substrate, if I don't plane the board at all, you're not going to see any weird stuff. Probably close to 58 millimeters. Just really dependent, again, on the material, because the stuff that comes from California is 3/16 thick. You add the substrate, it becomes a 1/4 inch thick just on the decking material, plus your mesh on the bottom, plus the surlim. So honestly, I can get boards almost as thick as possible. I can get 3-inch thick core. I don't have any right now, but I can get it. It is more expensive. So there are options to get boards as thick and as thin as possible.
I mean, we have a friend in the islands, Hawaii, who he loves bully boards. He's a bigger guy, and he's taken two planks, putting them together, and that's the thickness of his board. He's not shaving anything off, and then he goes into I think PMA makes him for him for Koa, but yeah, he's putting two blanks together, and I don't even know how thick that is, but they're pretty thick, and he loves them. I mean, everybody has their board.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So if people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way? I'm going to pull up your Instagram while you tell us.
Honestly, majority of people hit me up through Anthem Bodyboards Instagram. Sometimes my personal Andrew Bitleris Instagram, Facebook messages as well. I will have that website coming. It's going to be anthembodyboards.com. I'm having a local person. They're helping me build it right now, hopefully being published by the end of the month.
Oh, nice.
I'll have a custom order form on there. I'll have some pre-made stock boards for sale. I've been dabbling in some flow boards here and there, trying to get the rocker dialed the way that Pete does. It's a little bit tricky. So, yeah, it's just those are the best ways. Instagram until I get my website up and running, and then you'll have a whole entire custom order form on all my available colors, all the different cores that I offer, however many stringers you want, the tails, all the good stuff.
Man, we're scrolling through your Instagram right now with all your boards, and man, some of these squared off, like those old Kano McGee boards, are look insane. Like, why would somebody want this template or this shape?
They just literally hit me up and said, "Hey, can you build this?" And it takes a lot of customer service. Again, knowing boards, having been in the industry as long as I have, knowing the numbers off the top of my head. Okay, that sounds great. How wide do you want it? And a lot of times I have to help them with their own dimensions. Yeah, that's John Mangini right there, that little video. That's a diamond nose board I just made too for a guy in the UK. Added some nose rocker to it, that red board you were looking at. Um, it all just comes down to me working with the rider and what they're trying to achieve with their board.
Man, I don't know what it is about this board, but I freaking love it. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, kind of rustic colors. I think it's Galvin Volker.
Yep, Galvin Volker. He's
Yeah,
saying, look at this beauty brew. Right on. Well, we're going to share your Instagram and on the YouTube chat here.
awesome.
Perfect. We do have Chat Stickney. He chimed in on the YouTube chat. Let's see what he said. My buddy sitting here next to me sent that. My belly hurts from laughing. Andrew's shape better than me for sure. Oh, well, there you go. You got your answer.
Yeah, Chad and I go way back. I remember in 2005, he made the first water housing for me ever, and right before I went to Bali, he made another one for me, and we chat almost every day. He's still asking questions. I'm always willing to help him. So, Chad's good people.
Yeah, totally. It was pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen his video here on Bug Life, but it's really cool with his son. And yeah, he took us in with open arms. And then we went over to saw Jimmy, and yeah, this was all pretty cool. It started with heading over to PMA's house and him going through all his boards that he took out of the attic and slowly putting them on eBay. So if you haven't seen that, hit
Yep.
me up and I'll let you know how to find them because there's some freaking gems in there.
Oh, I'm a boogie nerd, and obviously everyone saw upstairs, and some of those boards might be on BBC and on eBay coming soon. So feel free to message me and just keep an eye on everything.
Right on, Andrew. I really appreciate your time, and I'm stoked we did this. And yeah, man, hit me up for whatever. If you do start putting boards on eBay or VBC or whatever, let me help you, broadcast it through Book Life and all of our audience here. And anything else I can do for you, just let me know.
Yeah, Manny, sounds great, and thanks again for this whole entire thing.
You got it, brother. Yeah, we'll definitely be chatting.
Cool. Phew.